Welcome! In the next 5 minutes, we're going to absolutely master everything you need for AQA's section on trophic levels. By the end of this, you'll be able to walk into that exam and tackle any question on this topic with total confidence.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll climb the food chain ladder. Then, we'll get visual with pyramids of biomass. After that, we'll uncover the single most important number you need to know, figure out where all the missing energy goes, and then wrap it all up with the perfect exam cheat sheet. Let's dive in.
First up, the food chain ladder. To really get a grip on energy flow, we first have to figure out the basics. Who's eating whom? Starting right from the very bottom.
Okay, here's a key term you absolutely have to know: trophic level. Sounds a bit fancy, I know, but it simply means an organism's spot in the food chain. Examiners absolutely love this term, so make sure you get it locked into your memory.
This slide lays it out perfectly. At the very bottom, trophic level 1, you've got your producers. They make their own food. They get eaten by level 2, the primary consumers, which are the herbivores. And they, in turn, get eaten by level 3, the secondary consumers. And right at the top, level 4, you've got your tertiary consumers eating other carnivores. See? Each level feeds on the one right below it.
And we can't forget two other key players that make this whole system tick. We already mentioned the producers. They kickstart everything using photosynthesis. But equally vital are the decomposers, like bacteria and fungi. They're the ecosystem's cleanup crew, breaking down all the dead material and recycling nutrients back into the soil for the producers to use all over again.
So we have all these levels, but how do we actually visualize them? In your exam, you won't just be defining these terms, you'll need to look at diagrams. And that's exactly where pyramids of biomass come in.
We use what's called a pyramid of biomass. Now, that word biomass just means the total mass of living organisms in an area. So, this pyramid is a diagram that stacks up the trophic levels, showing you the total weight of all the organisms at each step. And that biggest block, the producers, it's always at the base, no exceptions. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the numbers here. We start with 10,000 kilograms of grass, but that only supports 1,000 kilograms of voles, which in turn only supports 100 kilograms of weasels and a tiny 10 kilograms of fox at the top. Did you spot the pattern? The biomass drops by a factor of 10 each and every time, and that is not a coincidence.
Yeah, that massive drop-off isn't random at all. It actually points us to the single most important concept in this entire topic, a really simple rule that explains exactly why these pyramids always look like, well, pyramids.
10%, that's it. That is the magic number. If you remember literally nothing else from this, remember 10%. It's the key to everything.
So here's what it means. Only about 10% of the biomass from one trophic level actually gets stored in the level above it. Think about that. For every 10 kilograms of food an animal eats, only about 1 kilogram of it actually becomes part of its body.
But hold on, before we figure out where that other 90% goes, let's trace this all the way back to the very beginning. How efficient is that first energy transfer, the one that powers the entire system?
Well, it all comes from the sun. But even our amazing producers, the plants and algae, are only able to capture and convert about 1% of the light energy that hits them into food through photosynthesis. Just 1%. The entire energy budget for almost all life on Earth kicks off with this tiny initial transfer.
So this brings up the big exam question. If only 10% of the biomass gets passed on at each step, where on Earth does the other 90% go? It doesn't just disappear.
That 90% is lost in 3 main ways, and you'll want to know these. First, not all of an organism is absorbed. Some is lost as waste, like feces. Second, organisms lose mass through life processes, like breathing out CO2. And finally, a huge amount of that energy is just used to stay alive, for moving, keeping warm, and all those other metabolic processes.
Okay, let's bring all that together in a quick-fire summary. If you're making revision notes, this is the time to get your pen ready. These are the essential, must-know facts.
Let's lock it in. Trophic levels? They're just feeding positions. We show this with pyramids of biomass, which gets smaller as you go up. That's because of the 10% rule. Most biomass is lost to waste and respiration. And it all starts with producers capturing just 1% of sunlight. Nail those 5 points, and you are all set.
And a final pro tip for the exam.
They love, and I mean they love, asking you to calculate the efficiency of biomass transfer. It's a classic question. All you have to do is take the biomass of the higher level, divided by the biomass of the lower level, and then just multiply by 100 to get a percentage. You should definitely practice that.
And I'll leave you with a final thought. Since so much energy is lost at every single step, what does that mean for how long a food chain can actually be? Why are there no trophic level 10 predators? The answer is all in that 10% rule. Chew on that. Good luck with your revision.